it's KP's Video News, and we're back again. Like the old folks used to say, one more again. And we're getting ready to talk about these stories here, and the story that I'm going to be touching on here. And it seems like it's a pattern that's occurring these days, that minorities are not getting treated and they're not getting tested for the coronavirus. And I've been running into a lot of these stories here lately. And yesterday I reported on one about a lady that called 911, and 911 came out, and when they told her when she got there that she was not a priority, and the next day she died. Now this one here happened in Brooklyn, and this Brooklyn teacher denied coronavirus test 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 3 times. Now on life support. Oh boy, Raina Zoe Mungin, a 30-year-old social studies teacher at Ascend Academy in Brooklyn, New York, is now on life support after she was repeatedly and reportedly denied the coronavirus test despite her being rushed to the hospital 3 times and showing worsening symptoms. On March 15th, Raina started having fever, shortness of breath, had a severe headache. Her sister Mia Mungin said they gave her albuterol for asthma and gave her a shot for her headache, but she wasn't tested for COVID-19. 3 days passed, and her shortness of breath continued, but she refused to go to the hospital. On March 19th, she had to be taken to the hospital by ambulance, where she was only given a nebulizer treatment. One of the attendants insisted that her lungs are clear and that she is just having a panic attack. When she arrived at the hospital for the second time, Mia recalled that the doctor said, "Her lungs are clear. We're not going to test for corona because we don't have enough tests." The next day, Raina had returned by ambulance to the hospital because she wasn't breathing. Mia said her family wasn't allowed to enter and were only told that she was intubated and on a ventilator. Mia, who is a registered nurse, expressed her guilt, saying she thinks she was the one who passed the coronavirus to her sister. She said she was the one who was exposed to another patient who had fever on March 9th. Since then, she herself also didn't feel well and might have unintentionally coughed on her sister. Meanwhile, her family is fighting for her to get access to better treatment in other hospitals, but they have been turned down. So this is a reoccurring situation where you have people of color that are being turned down. I just reported on this 17-year-old kid that got refused access because he didn't have health insurance, and he had to eventually end up going to the emergency room at AV Hospital and end up dying. So, all right, here we go with the this is coming from England here, and it says a British-based manufacturer says that allegedly that they have been told by the government not to produce much-needed ventilators less than a week after being asked to help make thousands of machines. The company's chief executive has said. Nick Gray, chief executive of G-Tech, told the media that he had been advised by the government on the 26th of March not to continue making the ventilators, despite his company's answering the government's call to help in producing more than 30,000 of the machines just 2 weeks prior. A statement from the Worcester-based company's chief executive said on Friday, March 20th, the cabinet and medical group coordinating the project gave us the go-ahead to prepare for production. However, last evening on March 26th, they were advised that they did not want us to proceed at this time. Everyone involved can be proud that we were ready to respond to the nation's needs and start production in such short term and a short period of time. We will still complete and publish our design, as there has been a lot of interest for it around the world. It's not clear why the government allegedly told the company to stop producing the ventilators, particularly since as the machines are key to keeping people alive who have trouble breathing because of coronavirus. It has been reported though, that Dyson had received an order for 10,000 ventilators from the government, but other reports have suggested the government had opted to scale up production on existing designs to produce more ventilators rather than go into a new design. So that's their spin on it, was that the reason why they canceled the order. The government spin was that they didn't want to start with a new design, so therefore they just canceled the whole order. Now here we go. This is where people are getting a little bit overzealous here, and we have armed vigilantes that chop down a tree and block the driveway to force a neighbor into quarantine. And a group of armed vigilantes cut a tree and dragged it across a man's driveway in Maine to force him to quarantine in his home amid fears he could be infected with the coronavirus. A man residing on Cripple Creek Road in Vinhaven, an island off the coast of Maine, called authorities around 3:35 p.m. on Friday to report a group of people had guns and had cut down a large tree and dragged it in front of his driveway, blocking access to the main road. The man said he left his house to check his property when he noticed the cable went out. The unidentified man said that when he retreated to his home and hailed a Coast Guard for help using his VHF radio after a neighbor began yelling at him to get indoors and remain quarantined. The armed group had dispersed before authorities arrived. Deputies with the Knox County Sheriff's Office and along with Maine Marine Patrol and the Coast Guard boarding party responded to the scene. The incident remains under investigation. Deputies have learned that there is a general belief by some island residents that the Cripple Creek residents are supposed to be quarantined because they came here from another state and could have COVID-19. Whether someone is a Maine resident or not, they have the right to free movement, and anyone who infringes upon that free movement is potentially violating the law, the Post said. The man and his two roommates have been living in Vinhaven for about 30 days since coming from out of state, authorities said. Several towns in Maine have asked seasonal residents and outside visitors to self-quarantine to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And if you are concerned about someone potentially being infected or not following emergency rules or recommendations, please call the Sheriff's Department. And we want everyone to be informed about COVID-19 and the rules around it. We also want everyone to be safe and not overreact at this time of uncertainty, as it could end poorly. So he got some vigilante group that decided they were going to take the law into their own hands and just force these people to quarantine, to stay in their homes. And like the guy said, that's against the law. And in certain states, that would be considered kidnapping anytime you impede the movement of another person. So, all right, these are some stories that are going on in the world today, and it's kind of ramping up to a whole nother level here, and we have to really be vigilant and try to, stay distance ourselves from each other and stay at home, at all costs. And if you just really, really, truly have to go out, you just better make sure it's an emergency, or you running out of something, some food or something that you got to get. Other than that, hey, I don't know. It is what it is, folks. Welcome to the new world.